Hello, hello. I am here today with Steffi Edwin. Steffi is a certified sleep consultant and graduate of the Center for Pediatric Sleep Management. She's the owner and founder of Jolie Sleep Consulting. She's a mom of two and lives in New York. Welcome, Steffi. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jane. It's such an honor to be here and doing this interview in your podcast. I'm so
Oh,
excited.
well, thank you, thank you. So I wanted to bring you on today to talk about growing your business in the pandemic. When I think about who I should speak to on this topic, there's nobody better than you for this topic. So, we're coming up on 2 years on this pandemic. I think when the world shut down in March, we were going to be home for a couple of weeks and then life would get back to normal.
Right.
Obviously, that's not how it went down. So, can you share a little bit about what you were doing professionally before the pandemic? And yeah, let's start there.
Yeah, of course. So before the pandemic, I worked full-time as a nanny in Manhattan, caring for two precious little ones, Addie and Benny, that I loved so much. And just before the pandemic really hit, like we were talking so much about what COVID was going to look like, how we would navigate it, if we needed to stay home for just a few days. They would go to the Hamptons, I would stay home for a little bit, or I could move to the Hamptons with them. Like we were just hoping this thing would be like only 2 to 3 weeks, but obviously it wasn't.
Right. And how long were you home for when like the world shut down? And I remember in the beginning that like nobody went to work, whether you were a nanny, whether you worked in a restaurant, like everything shut down.
Yeah.
How long were you home for before like you decided that you didn't want to go back or didn't feel comfortable going back? What was that time frame?
It was about 3 weeks to a month in, right around April 15th, because everything shut down right around March 15th. And my husband had newly transitioned to working full-time at home. My kids were doing virtual learning, and my husband has a very demanding job, and there's no way that he would be able to navigate online learning and work at the same time. And we just looked at each other and we're like, oh yeah, like you really cannot go back to work in person. Like it's really not going to work out. And the family that I worked for, they were like, either you move to the Hamptons with us for a little bit and only go home on the weekends, or every other weekend. And that was not an option for me. So
No.
um, I have two younger kids of my own and my husband, my family to care for. So when I was presented with that option and knowing that I needed to take care of my home and my children, do virtual learning, the decision was easy for me to just stay home and figure something else out.
Right. And what did it look like? I'm trying to remember. Did you sign up to take my course right around then? I think it was
Yeah,
April, right?
I
So you
did.
decided to get certified to become a sleep consultant. Remind me, I know we talked about this, but now I just cannot remember. There's a connection here, right? Was it your family that you worked for knew me
Yeah.
somehow? Was that what it was?
Yes, it was. So when I discussed with the family that I worked for before that I would not be coming back, and we were just talking about like what the future was going to look like for me and my employer, she was like, "Why don't you just become a sleep consultant?" And I was like, "A sleep consultant?" And she's like, "Yeah, well, you've helped Addie, you've helped Ben, and you." Like, she was just naming people after people that I helped, like with naps especially. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. And she's like, I saw a Facebook post from this lady that I know, Jane, on it was the Upper East Side's mom group, about a sleep certification program. How about you reach out and just ask questions? Like just find out a little more about it, learn a little more about it. And I did. And the call that we had like was it for me. It's like,
I
yes,
remember. I remember. I knew that you were really excited about it. And I think the timing, we'll get to this later in our interview, but I think, there are silver linings in everything. And
yeah.
the timing was really, I think, perfect for you. because you needed a shift. What working as a nanny in the pandemic was not going to work for you.
Not at all. Not at all.
So how did you get your brain, your mind to a place where you could juggle just like the mental gymnastics that are like being home during a pandemic with two kids, right? In the beginning, we were all scared. Like no one wanted to go to a grocery store. No one wanted, right? It was really bad in the beginning. So dealing with that and then dealing with your kids being home doing, I'm sure, Zoom school or Google Meet school or whatever it was, right? And then trying to navigate starting a new business. How did you get your mind to a place where you could handle all of that?
It took a lot. It took a lot of self-control and self-will to be able to navigate all of it. I think like initially when I decided to become certified, I just thought that this would be a side gig and just, like a way to make some additional income because my husband was able to hold it down with his job. So it really was not, I was not really looking to like replace my nanny income, but just have something to do, like whilst my kids were doing virtual learning and my husband was working. So it just, I guess it was just a lot of like self-will and wanting to have something for me while all of this was going on.
Yeah, I really identify with that. I really felt myself during the beginning of the pandemic that I needed something for me because I was doing everything to keep my kids happy and healthy and thriving in a situation that felt really hard to thrive in. And like I personally felt really defeated, or depleted is probably a better word, not defeated. I felt depleted, and my business actually really started to take off during the pandemic, and that was sort of my saving grace because I needed something like an outlet, right? And I would imagine that that was similar for you as well.
It was. It was.
Yeah. So talk to me about what your actual day looked like. I think that, I wanted to have this conversation because I think people often want to do something awesome like this, right? Like they want to get certified to be a sleep consultant. They want to start a side hustle or change careers. They have these big grand plans, but then life gets in the way, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't have time. They're too busy. Their plate is already full. That was the case for you too. So walk us through, if you even remember. I feel like I've blocked out a lot of what it looked like in those early days. But if you remember, can you walk us through what your day looked like while supporting your kids through Zoom school, getting your business off the ground? What did that look like from morning to evening?
It was very important for me to have some form of a routine to keep some structure in my home. So we would wake up in the morning every day, we'd do breakfast together, the kids would get ready for school. I had structured some little room in the house where they would do their virtual learning, and my husband was in his section because when the pandemic hit, we were still living in the Bronx in a small 2-bedroom apartment. We had no room and we were just trying to make everything work. And once everybody was settled in for the day, I would spend time going through the course. And every 2 hours, I would peek at them, make sure they're doing their assignments, following what the teachers were instructing. And by the end of the day, after school, I would structure time for only my family, for spending time with my children, communicating with my husband. And then after bedtime, I would be back at it. And I would sit down at my computer and go through the entire course. And my husband would sometimes have to ask me like, hey, are you going to come to bed? And I'm like, no, this is too good. I can't right now. Like, I'll be there soon. But that's how my days were initially. But now they're even more structured. So now I structure my days based on when I want to, the days that I want to take discovery calls, the days that I offer consultations, and how I go about supporting my clients throughout the day. I would only look at my phone to support clients between 8 and 8, but not the whole day. So I would communicate first thing in the morning at 8, and then again at 1, and then 6 until bedtime. And that's it, so that I'm able to do other things for me and work on other aspects of my business as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important once you really get going in this business to establish some boundaries around when you're going to work, when you're not going to work, when you're going to be staring at your phone, when you're not going to be staring at your
Yeah.
phone. I think it's hard, especially in the beginning, because we're all just trying to grow as quickly as
Yes.
possible. But I think once you have some security, some job security, right, it starts to feel easier to put some limits on the work and really compartmentalize. And you're working when you're working, you're with your family when you're with your family. It's the gold standard, right? It's something that we're all working towards. I know I'm not perfect at it, but I definitely try.
I know there are times that you really like get out of your boundaries or your limits to accommodate certain clients who really need your help, but it's important to like have those boundaries for sure.
For sure. For sure. So I often think about when someone is trying to start a business, whether it's sleep consulting or anything else, but especially in our field, a lot of people get this like idea, like, I want to be a sleep consultant, right? Like it's almost like shiny object syndrome. Like they just have this excitement about the idea of doing this. How do you turn an idea or something that you're excited about or enthusiastic about into a really successful business? Like you've done that. What did that look like for you? I'm sure it was a journey, right? Like you didn't have 10 clients a month your first month in business. Like it takes time to get there. So what does that look like to get from like the idea to the place where you actually feel like, yeah, I really did this, or I'm doing it?
I think it's a mindset shift and really putting in the work, because nothing good comes easy. A business is built on hard work, putting yourself out there, becoming vulnerable, and not being afraid to fail. Really not being afraid to fail. So you go out there, you give it your best, and you just hope that, like your best was enough.
Yeah.
And usually that's the case, it is enough, but really don't be afraid to like take that leap of faith. Because you never know, like that small leap that you took will be the leap that gets you like above and beyond, or just gets things going for you. Because initially when I started, it was hard for me. I didn't, like you mentioned, I did not have 10 clients a month. I even struggled so much with social media, where I had to hire a social media business coach who helped me tremendously with building my confidence there. And now this is where I get most of my clients, from social media. So really working hard, outsourcing, and getting people to help with the things that I'm not strong at has really helped me to be more successful in
Yeah,
my
I agree with you completely. I think the two sort of keys to success, and you nailed both of them, are like one, like believing in yourself, having that right mindset that you're capable, and two, like seeking support when you need it, right? Because there are certain areas that we have our strengths and our weaknesses. This is true for everybody. For me, I really struggle with the tech stuff. Computers scare me. I say to my husband, I say to my business strategist who I worked with months ago, I always say, like, wouldn't it be incredible, like how well I could do if I just knew how to use a computer, right? Like if only I understood how to use my own computer, then I could really be going. We all have something that's holding us back, that's making it feel hard. And when you seek out support, whether it's just coaching or mindset work, emotional support, or actual like tech support, it doesn't matter. But we all have those hurdles that feel really high to jump over. And when you get help for the things that feel hard, it keeps you from being stuck, right?
Yes, definitely. It does.
Yeah. So people ask me all the time. One of the questions I get asked most frequently is if it's possible to earn a full-time income doing this work. I'm earning a full-time income doing this work. I'm so excited that you are earning a full-time income doing this work. You know, what did that look like? How does that feel, first of all? And how long did it take you to get to the point where you really had this steady stream of income, and it wasn't just a side hustle anymore, but like this is a real job for you.
Yeah, so I'm super excited myself. Like I could pinch myself like every single time because I cannot believe it myself how successful I've been able to grow this business in less than 2 years. Initially, when I started, it was not that way. It took a lot of me working my behind off to get to where I am today, but right around like the 8 month mark is where I started to have a steady stream of clients after working with my social media coach. And since then, it's just taken off. I've been able to build relationship with different brands and also like provide coaching for their companies as well, which has really been amazing this past year.
Yeah, I don't, it's so frustrating right now that this is a podcast and nobody's going to see our faces, but like the two of us are both just sort of like blushing, shining from ear to ear. I think, Steffi, I know you're so proud of yourself, and I seriously could not be more proud of you. When you first signed up to take my course, you were more shy, you were timid, you were more soft spoken, you were nervous. And now, you've totally come out of your shell. You're confident. You do your thing on social media. I should mention to everybody listening, Steffi's social media coach is actually a Center for Pediatric Sleep Management contributor. Steffi introduced her to me, and I just think the world of her. Her name's Allison Henderson. She's actually going to be on this podcast as well. And she's incredible. So I'm so glad that she gave you the support and the guidance that you were looking for. And I'm a firm believer that like we're never done seeking out additional education, support, learning, all of it. So, getting certified to become a sleep consultant is the first step. And then there's always more places to grow, whether that's our social media presence, whether that's our mindset, whether that's our sales skills. It doesn't matter. There's always room to grow. And I love that you didn't get stuck and you didn't just give up. You sought out the help that you were looking for, and look at you now. So it took you about 8 months to feel like you had a steady stream of income and clients.
Yeah, so by 8 months, I was matching what I made as a nanny, and I got paid really well as a nanny in the city. So I was matching that, and now I have like surpassed that.
That is so
Surpassed.
incredible. It makes me
Incredible.
so happy because, people ask me all the time, can I replace my full time income doing this work? And, your proof is in the pudding, like you did it. And we have others that have done it too. And it takes hard work, and it's not the snap of a finger. It's going, going, going and not giving up. But that's exactly what you did. So I'm so happy for you. So
Thank you.
let's talk about what's coming up in 2022. Do you have any big goals set for this year? Anything that you're working on that you want to share with everyone?
Yeah, so I'm super excited about building a team for my business because my workload is becoming way too heavy for me. So I'm working on adding 2 other sleep consultants to my business to help provide more support to more clients. That way, I'm able to help more families and not have to increase my prices to a ridiculous number.
That's
um,
really great. That's really great. And this is the first I'm hearing of this. I'm so excited about this for you, and I can't wait to hear who you hire. Maybe we're gonna have to talk offline about that.
I
Uh,
know.
but I'm really excited for you. That's an awesome way to grow. I personally have always been scared to do that. I'm a little bit of a control freak. So people ask me
Yeah.
all the time, are you going to hire people to work under you? And I have never had the guts to do it, but I think it's a great way to grow your business. And that is incredible that in 2 years you've gotten to the place where you're ready to take on, whether it's independent contractors or employees. That's awesome.
Yes, it feels really, really good. And I'm also working on launching my first course, hopefully by the summer of 2022. So I'm really excited about that.
That's fabulous. Awesome. All good things. Before we wrap up, I thought it would be fun to just ask you a few quick fire questions. Are you up for it?
Yeah, of course. Let's do
Okay,
it.
awesome. Facebook or Instagram for your business? I know this.
Definitely Instagram.
Definitely Instagram for you. What about text or Voxer for communicating with clients?
Boxer. Boxer makes it so much easier.
Yeah, I'm still on text because I just can't get I agree with you. Voxer is better and easier, but I just can't make the shift. It feels like, because if I have, let's say I have 8 clients at any given time, if like 4 of them are on Voxer and 4 of them are on text, like the whole process of just making the shift feels
Yeah.
overwhelming. But I agree with you that like Voxer is better, and I aspire to be on Voxer for communicating with clients. So good for you. I'm working on it. Do you prefer coaching parents of infants or toddlers?
Infants.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I
Infants
think,
are so easier to handle. They get it so quickly. Toddlers are like more, they protest a lot
yeah,
more than infants do. So
yeah, I
definitely.
hear you. I think infants are maybe easier, but I like the toddlers because it's such a win. Like when I help a parent that has a 3-year-old that hasn't slept through the night in a year and a half, and I get that 3-year-old sleeping, like there's nothing better than that. Do you have a favorite mantra or a saying that you share with your clients to help them through the tough stuff?
Yeah, well, actually, I share this analogy with all of my clients about going to daycare or starting daycare with the baby. And I talk with them, I point out what the first day is like at daycare and how the babies fuss and cry. And it's hard for them. But then by day 3 or 4, they're like waving at you at the door, like, bye, I'll see you later, because they've built that confidence and they feel secure in their surroundings. And it's the same for sleep training.
Yeah, love that. Totally agree. Great analogy. Before we wrap up, where can everybody find you? Do you want to share your website, your Instagram, whatever you want to share?
So I'm most active on Instagram at Instagram. So you can follow me there at Jolie Sleep. Send me a message if you want to learn more about the services that I offer, or you can visit my website, joliesleep.com, and view my packages there and the breakdown of my services. And you're also able to reach out, book a discovery call with me right there too.
Perfect. Steffi, thank you so much for chatting with me today. And I just absolutely am glowing, shining, smiling from ear to ear. So happy that you've had all this success. And thank you for taking the time to share it with my audience today.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.